On the first of every month, this man owes the municipality 4,80,000 rupees. He owes it whether 900 vehicles come through that gate or whether none do, because he does not own this parking lot. He does not own the land, the booth, or 1 square foot of the tarmac. What he bought at a government auction was the right to collect money on that patch of ground for exactly 12 months. He paid for that right in advance, so he is not really renting space to cars at all. He has placed a very large bet on how many people will visit this market this year. By the end of this, you will know exactly how that auction sets the price, how many vehicles a day he needs just to reach zero, why roughly half his profit walks out of the gate in loose change, and the strange reason that doing this job well guarantees it becomes harder next year. It starts in a municipal office. The corporation owns the land and has no interest in running a parking lot, so once a year it auctions the right to run it. Sealed bids, highest number wins. Everybody in that room is guessing at the same thing, and the man who guesses highest goes home with a contract. 57 lakh 60,000 rupees a year. Look at what that auction actually does. It does not find the person who will run the lot best. It finds the person with the sunniest view of how busy this market will be, and it charges him for that optimism up front. And it is worth asking why the corporation does this at all. It owns the land. It could run the lot and keep every rupee, but then it would be employing attendants, handling cash, chasing leakage, and answering complaints, and its income would rise and fall with the weather. By auctioning it, the corporation converts an uncertain stream into one fixed, guaranteed number it can write into a budget a year ahead. It is making exactly the opposite trade to the man who wins. He buys the risk. It buys the certainty. Winning is only the beginning of the spending. The corporation wants a security deposit before he touches the site, and it wants the license fee a quarter at a time in advance. Everything physical about the lot is his problem. 25 lakh rupees before the barrier goes up for the first time. And notice the shape of it. More than half is license fee handed over in advance for a service that has not been delivered yet on a lot that is still empty. Then the actual business begins, and it is a very simple one. 20 rupees for a two-wheeler, 40 for a car, collected in cash, 1 vehicle at a time, from 6 in the morning until 11 at night. 8,27,000 rupees collected, 1,07,000 kept. That is a net margin of about 13%, and every rupee of it arrives in 20 rupee notes. 58 rupees in every 100 goes straight back to the corporation. It is by far the biggest line. It is completely fixed, and it is the only one that does not care how the month went. And there is a decision hidden in that lot that most people never notice. Cars pay double what two-wheelers pay, so cars look like the better customer. Measure the ground they stand on, and the answer reverses completely. Per square foot of ground, a scooter earns him exactly twice what a car does, which is why a good operator quietly makes cars slightly inconvenient, keeps the two-wheeler rows packed tight, and lets the car bays sit at the far end. The lot is laid out the way it is for a reason. Which brings us to the number that governs his whole life. Because the costs are fixed and the income is not, there is a precise count of vehicles below which he simply loses money. 820 vehicles a day, every day, before he earns 1 rupee for himself. He gets about 960. That gap, 140 vehicles a day, is the entire business. A 15% fall in footfall does not cut his profit. It removes it. His biggest competitor is not another parking lot. It is the road immediately outside his gate, where several hundred people park for nothing every single day. The corporation sold him the right to charge inside the lot. It did not promise to stop anybody parking free 30 feet away. 3 lakh rupees a month sitting on the curb outside. He cannot find them, tow them, or move them because he's a contractor, not an authority. He can only watch. In practice, a large part of what he's really bidding on is how seriously that particular municipality polices its own streets. And there is a leak in the middle of it that nobody talks about openly. The whole thing runs on cash, handed over at a gate, often without a ticket ever being torn. The camera counts every vehicle that enters. The ticket book does not. 70 vehicles a day, 53,000 rupees a month. That is half of everything he takes home, disappearing 20 rupees at a time into the pockets of the men he employs. This is why serious operators spend real money on cameras, serial numbered tickets, and surprise counts. Not because they are suspicious, because the arithmetic demands it. And that leak is really a wage problem wearing a disguise. He pays an attendant 22,000 rupees a month to stand in traffic for 9 hours and handle 2 lakh rupees of other people's cash. The gap between what passes through those hands and what stays in them is the whole temptation. Operators who pay above the going rate lose noticeably less at the gate, which tells you almost everything. Now imagine the road outside gets dug up for a drain replacement. It happens constantly, and it is nobody's fault. Footfall falls by a third for 4 months. His attendants still need paying, and the corporation still wants its 4.80 lakh on the first. And here is the asymmetry at the heart of this business. A brilliant month is limited by something physical, the 200 spaces on the ground. A bad month has no floor at all. He can lose more in one quiet quarter than he makes in a good one. Which is why the monthly passes matter far more than their size suggests. 95,000 rupees looks like a rounding error beside 8 lakh, but it arrives on the first, in full, regardless of weather, roadworks, or footfall. It is the only income in this business that behaves like the license fee does. And then, 12 months later, it all happens again. He has spent a year proving exactly how much money that lot produces, and everybody watching now knows it too. The next auction is not a guess anymore. It is an informed bid on a proven number, which means the price goes up. Half his profit, competed away by his own success. This is the trap at the center of every government contract business. He is not building anything he can keep. There is no goodwill, no brand, no customer list, nothing to sell to the next man. At the end of every year, he hands back an empty lot and starts again. There is one obvious fix for all of that, and it is already stuck to the booth window. A payment that lands directly in the owner's account cannot be pocketed at the gate. But adoption is slow, and not by accident. The people asked to encourage it are the same people who lose from it. Now here is where this business separates itself from everything else we have looked at. The tea cart could not be duplicated because the taste lived in one man's hands. The scrap go down could not because the judgment did. But there is nothing in a parking lot that lives in anybody's hands. It is a gate, a rate, and a tally sheet. A second lot under a paid supervisor still returns 77% of what the first one does. When the chaiwala opened a second cart, it returned 34. That difference is the entire reason parking contractors end up running 15 lots, and chaiwalas almost never run 2. 51% on capital, which is the lowest return we have looked at so far. But look at the other line, 457 rupees an hour, which is, by a distance, the highest. This is the first business in this series where the owner is not the one doing the work. Line them all up, and the pattern is impossible to miss. The more capital a business demands, the worse its percentage return, and the better it pays the human being running it. That is not a coincidence in these 4 cases. That is what capital is actually for. So, what does a parking contractor actually own? Not the land, not the booth, not the tarmac or the barrier, or a single one of those painted bays. What he owns is 12 months of permission and a very precise opinion about how many people will come to this market. Everything else on that lot belongs to somebody else. And next year, if he has read the crowd correctly, his reward will be the chance to pay more for the privilege of reading it again.